What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, back with another video. For the first time in a long time, I did get pretty sick a couple of weeks ago, and following my recovery I had to judge the YCS, which doing that and being in a room full of thousands of people very shortly after recovering from being sick did its own damage, but we're better. We are back and we are bringing you an updated Fire King deck profile because it has been a while, so let's go ahead and jump on in. Now, I know some of you might be asking why I'm doing a Fire King deck profile when I have been promising you guys a must-know combo tutorial for Fire Kings, and the reason is because the deck has been innovated and changed a lot since the last time I made a profile, so I feel like it's important to show you guys an updated build before we get into those combos. But do not worry, tomorrow from the time of me uploading this video, I will be uploading a 6 must-know Fire King combo tutorial, so make sure you guys are ready for that because we have a lot to show you, so let's go ahead and show you the build. Now, the thing about Fire King is that the Fire King package in the deck is actually kind of hilariously small, only consisting of a total of 8 cards. So we are going to be going over them very briefly because if you are a fan of the channel, you know I definitely prefer the Snake Eye variant, but it is important to show you guys all facets of the meta. So we're going to show you guys we have 1 Ponix, 1 Arvada, and 1 Garunix. These are just the important one-ofs of the deck. You all know what they do. Ponix is your Searcher, Arvada is a Negate and a Reborn, Garunix is able to not only summon itself, but recur you resources because it summons back from the grave as well, and then you're going to destroy things, usually the Arvada or your Kirin, which again, we are on to Kirin, and this is just going to kind of be how you float through the deck and be able to get additional interruptions during your opponent's turn as well. But that is it for the Snake Eye monster, or for the Fire King monsters. Now onto the Snake Eyes. We have our 3 copies of Snake Eye Ash. This is just the best starter, as you guys are going to see in the combo video tomorrow. We have our 2 copies of Poplar, just an incredible monster and search target for a lot of your cards. Our 1 copy of Oak. This is very different from the pure Snake Eye variant, at least from mine. I know that a lot of people are only on 1 Oak, but I definitely still feel like if you are on pure, 2 is the better option. Unfortunately, that's just not the case for the Fire King deck. And our 1 copy of Flamberge, and that's going to do it for the Snake Eye monsters. Now, another card that is seeing a lot of contention on what the correct ratio is going to be the Diabellstar, the Black Witch, which I am opting to play 3 of, because I just want to be able to see as consistently playable as possible, and this is a 1-card starter for a lot of your combos. So I definitely want to max out on it. Now, that doesn't mean that you guys have to. Again, deck building is really just personal preference and what works best for you. If you guys saw the UDS winning list from Jesse Cotton, he only played 1, I believe, and obviously it worked out for him because he was in a room of some of the best players in the world and still managed to win. I just like being able to see consistency, and 3 Black Witch is what does that for me. Onto the hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Now, this is another weird card because there are some players that are cutting this from their list entirely, and the reason they are doing it is so that they don't lose to something like Hida the Fire Charmer. The Fire Charmer link is able to reborn a fire monster, meaning if you Ash Blossom your opponent, they can go ahead and reborn your own Ash Blossom with their Hida, which will let them then link into something like a Promethean Princess, which can potentially just allow them to continue to full combo through whatever your interaction was. I still think that this is worth playing because I like the interaction where you can use it to negate the little Snake Eye effects, or actually all 3 of them, but more importantly the Ash and Oak, the effect that they have to send themselves and another card to summon 1 from deck. Being able to get them to go down 2 resources and then just negate it is really, really strong. And yeah, I'll talk about Ash a little bit more in a minute. We have 3 copies of Effect Veiler. I think that Effect Negation is the strongest form of interaction in this format. If you are able to negate something like your opponent's Ash or Oak or pretty much anything, it's just really, really strong. Next up, we have our 3 Nibiru. Now, Nibiru is a card that I am not sold on because, as you've seen in my Snake Eye combos, and as you are going to see in the Fire King combos, the majority of the lines that you do don't care about this card. They have a way to either put up a negate before it's relevant, or they have a way to ensure that even if you Nibiru them, they're going to be able to recur their resources and full combo through it. The reason that I'm still playing it is because of a very niche interaction that happened to me in one of my games recently, where I opened up both the Nib and the Ash Blossom, and by Ash Blossoming my opponent's Poplar, which typically wouldn't be the correct play, I was able to keep them off of Divine Temple, which meant that Nibiru was absolutely going to stick, and that won me the game. So that's kind of the selling point for Nib, is on its own really lackluster, but in tandem with another form of interruption, it can definitely end the game. I'm not a fan of cards that have to rely on other cards in order to really shine, but it's still definitely worth playing in my opinion. Next up, we have some spells. We have our Fire King spells. We've got Sanctuary, Island, and Circle. Sanctuary and Island go hand in hand. Obviously, you search the Sanctuary off the Ponix. Sanctuary activates the Island. Island gets your ball rolling. The reason I'm playing Circle, whereas some people might only be playing these two, is because I like the ability to have an additional search target for your Ponix during your opponent's turn. A lot of times during the opponent's turn, you're going to be able to reborn your Ponix, whether that's off of Arvada, Kirin, Flamberge, doesn't really matter. You're probably putting the Ponix back on your field, and having something to search for the crackback on your next turn, like Circle of the Fire King, is incredibly strong. Next up, we have 3 copies of Wanted. Again, this goes into the consistency, like I was saying. I want to be able to see as consistently playable as possible, so we're obviously going to max out on the cards that search our Diabellstar. Speaking of, we have the 1 original Sinful Spoils. This is a search target for both Diabellstar and Poplar, and we do have 1 more search target as well for Poplar, which is going to be the Divine Temple. So between both of these cards, you have a lot of options, and it really just depends on your hand, but again, you'll see what we're doing in the combo tutorial tomorrow. Next up, we have 3 bonfires, and I know that a lot of you already want to click off of this video because this is one of the contention points. Again, a lot of people are not happy with the price of bonfire, but I enjoy competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I want to bring you guys the most competitive content, so I'm not going to exclude this from the deck. This is obviously one of the best cards that you can play in this deck, so we have to max out on it at 3. Finally, for these spells, we have 3 copies of Crossout Designator. Now, this card is really interesting for a lot of reasons. Now, because we are in what a lot of players are considering to be a Tier 0 format, due to the very high representation and win rate of the Fire decks, a lot of the times when you are at a regional or higher level event, you are going to be up against the mirror, which means that Crossout Designator not only is the hand trap stopper that a lot of people use it for, but it can also prevent your opponent from using cards that you yourself run, such as the Snake Eye Ash or the Poplar or whatever it is you might want to call off this in order to prevent your opponent from playing. There's also a very interesting and niche interaction with Ash Blossom when it comes to Crossout Designator, going back to what I was saying earlier in regards to the Heat of the Fire Charmer. Now, something like Called by the Grave, which we're not playing, can also stop the Ash Blossom from resolving, but the downside of that is that it banishes it from the grave, whereas your Crossout Designator will still leave your opponent's Ash Blossom in the grave, meaning that you can reborn it and use it to extend your own plays, and I just think that because of that, this is an incredible card worth running. Originally, I wasn't going to run it because I don't feel at a local level it's really that good, because again, you're not really going to see 100% mirror match at a local scenario, but I got tired of getting Effect Veilered and Infinite Impermanence, so I put this in order to kind of protect myself against that as well. Finishing up, we have the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Again, I think that the ability to just negate effects is super strong in this format, so that's going to round out the main deck at 41 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. And super quickly, before we get into the extra deck, I do just want to let you guys know that I am dropping a brand new Metal Field Center. I am calling it Popular Monsters because it is the most popular monsters of the format right now, obviously featuring Diabellstar and Poplar. Diabellstar has become one of my favorite monsters in recent memory, and I really wanted to showcase that with some really cool merch. The art that you're seeing on screen currently is unfinished. I will have a finished product for you guys soon, but it will be available for pre-order on my website, insanetcg.com, on March 15th, so make sure your guys are ready. Onto the extra deck, we do have a pair of Link 1s. Obviously, we have our Link Karibo, which is important for a lot of the combos, but we also have a Relinquished Anima. Now, we are playing Relinquished Anima for a really cool combo that I will talk about a little bit later, but also it does have the ability to just kind of punish your opponent if they play into it, being a 1 card essentially just clear of a problematic monster, especially if they put it, you know, in the zones and just play into it. But it is mostly for the Unicorn combo, which we'll talk about when we get there. Next up, we have quite a bit of Link 2s. we have our Doolittle Chimera, our Heat of the Fire Charmer, and our IP Masquerena to start things off. Doolittle's really cool, and a lot of players have been utilizing it lately because of its ability to add back resources when destroyed, as well as the fact that it is a beast. So what you can do is you can link into it, pop it off of something like Fire King Island, and then not only are you getting the island search, but you're also going to get the Doolittle Chimera to recycle a resource from your grave back into your hand. And the fact that it is a beast means that you are able to reborn it off of something like Arvada, because Arvada will summon back a fire, winged beast, beast warrior, or beast, and that allows you to kind of link climb a little bit easier as well. So really cool card. Obviously, it's the fire format, so we have to be on Hida, and IP Masquerena is really cool because not only can we use it to make things indestructible on our own turn, but we're going to be able to put it back in our spell trap zone, meaning that we'll be able to summon it on our opponent's turn off of something like Temple or Flamberge, and that's going to allow us to use the IP on our opponent's turn to interrupt them further. We also have our one copy of Nightmare Phoenix. This card is really cool to not only out important floodgates, because a lot of people are on either anti-spell or summon limit, but the fact that you can also use it as a pseudo board clear to pop your opponent's Fire King Island and then wipe their board. Yes, they're going to float, but we'll go over why that's not the best a little bit later. So I think Nightmare Phoenix is really, really strong. Then finishing up the Link 2s, we have our Sunlight Wolf and our SP Little Knight. These are pretty obvious. Sunlight Wolf is Sunlight Wolf. You get to add back your resources. SP is one of the better targets to go into off of your Masquerena, so definitely very important cards. On to the Link 3s, we are playing 3 of them. We have our Decode Talker Heat Soul, our Nightmare Unicorn, and our Promethean Princess. Heat Soul is Heat Soul. Being able to draw is really, really cool, really, really strong, especially because we are playing a decently high hand trap count with 12 hand traps in the main deck, so definitely something that you want to see. Unicorn's really cool, not for the reason that you might think. I don't necessarily care about using this to clear my opponent's board. The reason I want the Unicorn is to shuffle back my own Fire King Island. As I was saying a little bit earlier, the ability of the Fire King Island to just board wipe a field when it is destroyed is very, very detrimental. Now, you might not think it's super detrimental because obviously now all of your Fire Kings are going to activate and you're just going to re-establish a board, but a lot of these combos are ending on Appaloosa, and unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get back your Appaloosa. So by destroying the Fire King Island, they are clearing several negates off of your end board, despite the fact that you are still establishing a wall of bodies. So being able to shuffle my own Fire King Island back into my deck to prevent something like that is incredibly strong, and Promethean Princess is Promethean Princess. Onto the Link 4s, we have our one copy of Amphibious Amblowhale. This is just a really good card, being able to not only reborn your stuff, but act as a non-target pop in the graveyard as well. And then finally, we have our Appaloosa, our Raging Phoenix, and our Zealantis. Appaloosa is really, really strong. Not only does it allow you to play through interactions, but also stop your opponent as well. And the Raging Phoenix and the Zealantis are mostly for the OTK, but there's actually a cool combo that you guys are going to see tomorrow with Zealantis, where you end your turn on it, and that's going to prevent you from getting super polyed, as well as give you the ability to destroy cards your opponent controls during their battle phase to ensure that you're not just going to lose the game. And it will be co-linked minimum 2, but potentially 3 depending on how the turn plays out. And there you guys have it. That is going to be the updated Fire King Snake Eye deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and remember, tomorrow I am uploading the combo tutorial. There are going to be 6 must-know combos for this deck, so stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed it, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, and as always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using code INSANE18, you can get 5% off your entire order. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.